On the May 9th, 2025 edition of Friday Night SmackDown, Alexa Bliss made her long and anticipated return to WWE programming after an unexplained 3-month absence. This marked her first appearance since the Elimination Chamber Premium live event back in March. While her in-ring comeback drew a significant reaction from fans, especially considering it occurred in her home state of Ohio, the nature of her return raised more questions than it answered. Particularly absent was any sign of the Wyatt Six, a mysterious and long-rumored faction tied to the legacy of the late Bray Wyatt, with whom Bliss had previously shared deep storyline connections. This surprise return has triggered renewed interest not only in Bliss's current character direction, but also in what WWE's long-term plans might be for her, especially as she finds herself potentially entangled in a new storyline alongside a legendary figure in the women's division, Charlotte Flair. Let's break down the layers of Bliss's return, the reactions it sparked, and what all of this might mean moving forward for her character, the Wyatt Six, and the broader landscape of WWE's women's division. A mysterious disappearance. Alexa Bliss off WWE TV without explanation. Alexa Bliss was last seen on WWE television on March 1st, 2025, during the Elimination Chamber. Following that event, she disappeared without any storyline explanation or formal send-off. Her vanishing act baffled fans, as there was no injury angle, backstage drama, or even cryptic hints about a temporary departure. Given WWE's typically deliberate approach to major character absences, especially for top-tier talents like Bliss, the lack of narrative closure sparked widespread speculation. The prevailing theory among fans and some wrestling media was that Alexa's absence was part of a long-term creative decision. Reports at the time suggested that she was being intentionally removed from television so that she could return in dramatic fashion as part of the Wyatt Six. This faction, linked to Bray Wyatt's mythos and hinted at through various Easter eggs and QR codes over the past year, had been built up as a dark, psychological stable, featuring mysterious characters like Uncle Howdy. Bliss's prior storyline connections with both Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy added further weight to this speculation. However, when Bliss finally reappeared on SmackDown in May, none of those rumored connections came to fruition. A surprise return in Ohio. Bliss teams with Zelina Vega. Alexa Bliss's return came during a segment involving Zelina Vega, who needed a tag team partner to face the team of Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. The crowd in Ohio, Bliss's home state, erupted when her entrance music hit, marking a genuine feel-good moment for fans who had been eagerly awaiting her return. Her presence was met with both nostalgia and intrigue, as fans hoped her comeback might also provide clues about future storylines or factions. In the ring, Bliss looked sharp and energetic, showing no signs of ring rust despite her absence. She appeared in updated ring gear that subtly nodded to her past personas, particularly the darker, supernatural versions that became synonymous with her post-2019 character work. The match concluded when Bliss delivered a well-executed Sister Abigail, a move long associated with Bray Wyatt, to Chelsea Green, securing the victory for her team. The use of that finishing move naturally reignited speculation about Bliss's ties to Wyatt's legacy. But despite this visual callback, there were no accompanying story cues to support that theory, not during the match, not in commentary, and not in any backstage segments. What to Wyatt Six? References a return to the solo act. For many fans, the biggest surprise wasn't that Bliss returned, it was how she returned. There were no QR codes hidden in the broadcast, no glitching camera effects, no cryptic backstage symbols, and no social media teasers from WWE's official accounts or the alleged Wyatt Six handle. Moreover, Bliss's demeanor throughout the night was calm, focused, and free of any of the unhinged or supernatural mannerisms that had defined her past alliances with the Wyatt character. In short, this was Alexa Bliss as a solo act, competent, confident, and independent. While this return was warmly received, it also puzzled those who had followed the breadcrumbs leading to a presumed Wyatt Six reunion. The disconnect between fan expectations and what actually transpired left many wondering why Bliss was kept off television for such an extended period, if her return didn't involve any dramatic character changes or significant storyline pivots. The most obvious assumption was that creative plans had changed, perhaps multiple times during her absence. Backstage cliffhanger, Charlotte Flair and Bliss share a mysterious encounter. Alexa's in-ring performance wasn't the only moment of note during the May 9th episode of SmackDown. In a backstage segment later in the evening, WWE planted the seeds for what could be her first major storyline of 2025. After being jeered by the live audience during her segment earlier in the night, Charlotte Flair was seen exiting the building in frustration. Her interaction with SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis earlier had hinted at a possible hiatus or even retirement, as she expressed dissatisfaction with how she was being treated by fans and the company. As Charlotte made her way to her car, Alexa Bliss appeared unexpectedly. Standing beside Charlotte's vehicle, Bliss calmly told her that they needed to chat. Before the audience could hear another word, the screen abruptly cut to black, ending the segment on a deliberate cliffhanger. This cryptic interaction immediately set social media abuzz. Was this a confrontation, a proposal, a warning, or the beginning of something entirely new? The history between Bliss and Flair, unfinished business from 2021. To understand the potential implications of this segment, it's worth revisiting Bliss and Flair's last major storyline. In 2021, the two clashed in a deeply personal feud over the Raw Women's Championship. Their match at Extreme Rules that year ended with Charlotte defeating Bliss to retain the title. But what happened post-match left a lasting impression. Charlotte destroyed Bliss's doll, Lily, a symbol central to her twisted, fiend-inspired persona. The destruction of Lily sent Bliss into an emotional breakdown, leading to another period of absence from WWE programming. When Bliss eventually returned in 2022, she had shed the supernatural trappings and presented a more grounded character. However, the transformation wasn't fully explained, and many felt that her story arc with Charlotte was left unresolved. That lingering tension and the emotional trauma tied to Lily's destruction could now be re-entering the narrative, though it remains unclear whether Bliss is seeking revenge, closure, or something else entirely. Alliance or rivalry. Theories about the segment's implications. The ambiguity of Bliss's interaction with Flair has led to two primary fan theories. 1. Revenge arc. Some believe Bliss still harbors resentment toward Flair for their 2021 feud and the symbolic destruction of Lily. If this is true, her chat could be a setup for a deeply personal rivalry, one rooted in betrayal, emotional trauma, and unresolved conflict. 2. Strategic alliance. Others suggest the moment signals a potential partnership. Earlier that same night, Charlotte had openly contemplated quitting WWE after feeling disrespected by fans and management. Alexa appearing at that moment, just as Charlotte was about to leave, could indicate an attempt to recruit her for a shared cause or mutual benefit. The idea of an alliance, while surprising, isn't entirely far-fetched. Bliss and Flair are both veterans of WWE's famed 2014 to 2015 NXT class, a cohort that laid the groundwork for the modern women's division. Though never portrayed as allies on screen, the notion of them banding together to counteract the growing dominance of younger talent, like Tiffany Stratton, Roxanne Perez, and Lyra Valkyria, adds an intriguing generational angle. Could this be the start of a veteran alliance? Some fans have proposed that Bliss might be initiating the formation of a veteran stable, uniting top female talent from WWE's previous eras to combat the surge of next-gen superstars who are rapidly rising in the ranks. Charlotte Flair, with her decorated career and established legacy, would be a natural fit for such a faction, despite her current heel status and fan backlash. This type of storyline could provide fresh matchups and character dynamics, while also spotlighting some of WWE's most experienced performers. It would also allow Bliss to adopt a leadership role, a significant development for her character, without immediately returning to the supernatural realm she's previously occupied. The Wyatt 6 question still unanswered. Despite all the speculation over the past year, Alexa's return offered no new clues about the Wyatt 6. As of now, there is no concrete indication that she remains involved with the faction in any capacity. She made no cryptic references, exhibited no dark behavior, and wore no overtly themed gear, aside from faint visual callbacks that could just as easily be fan service rather than narrative foreshadowing. This has left many wondering whether the Wyatt 6 plans were canceled, delayed, or repurposed. If Bliss is now being positioned as a major player in a completely separate storyline with Flair, it's unlikely she could simultaneously lead